Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And I want to thank you for being on this journey. I want to thank you for investing in you and investing in the work that you're doing and taking the time and the energy you're putting into yourself to grow, expand, and change. It is truly a wonderful thing to know that you are investing this energy in yourself. We can empty ourselves for others so deeply, and we can ignore our own needs. And many people just don't even want to look. But you're here. You're here because you do. You're here because you see in you that there are places that need some attention. And so good for you for doing that. Good for you for being here, and good for you for taking the time. Thanks for allowing me to come alongside you, for allowing me to bring this energy, this podcast. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see this pop up. Share it, tag me in it. I'd love to see where you are. I'd love to see where you're listening from. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us, give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform that people are listening, and it'll give you a notification when new episodes come out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I'd love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com. It's got all my contact information. You can set up an appointment. We can do some coaching. If you do some Reiki, I can do Reiki either on face-to-face or even if need be over some kind of video platform. If you want to do some coaching, meditation, I'm here for you. So whatever I can do, please feel free to reach out to me. GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. Walking through December, we've been looking at this kind of holiday season and how this affects us and how we can navigate through it and what we can learn from it. Today I want to talk about balancing tradition and change. I want to talk about something that hits a lot of people right in the heart during the holiday season, and that's the tension that we feel between tradition and change. Look, tradition can be beautiful. Traditions anchor us, they connect us, they remind us of where we come from. But sometimes traditions shift. I mean, look, families grow, they shrink, people move, life circumstances change, we change. And what once felt comfortable can suddenly feel heavy or stressful or simply not right for this stage in life. So I want to talk a little bit about, honestly and gently honoring what's meaningful, releasing what no longer fits, and creating new traditions that match the life you're living in right now, not the life you used to live. And it's really, really important is to be able to honor where you are right now and not what you're supposed to or where you're supposed to go. So I want to get into that. That's where I want to go with us today. Traditions are powerful. I mean, they really are. They help us feel rooted. Traditions root us. They remind us that we belong somewhere. They create a sense of community in a world that seems so, disconnected. They create a sense of continuity in a world that is constantly shifting. When we think back on our childhood, so many of our warmest memories come from traditions. And this time of year is a time of year that is really steeped in tradition. When we think back to those baking cookies or lighting candles or visiting family or decorating the tree, watching a certain movie or sharing a particular meal, these are all traditions, and they root us in our identity, root us in things of the past. Okay, tradition gives us emotional landmarks. They anchor us in moments that feel safe and joyful and meaningful. And this season, this holiday season, traditions help create that sense of nostalgia that we crave. Christmases like they used to be, the holiday season like it used to be when I was a kid. There's a particular television channel that shows a particular series and set of movies this time of year, which I enjoy watching, certainly, and they talk a lot about tradition. Traditions are so important. Traditions run through the stream of the storytelling. But here's something important to realize. Traditions matter because of what they make us feel. Okay, traditions matter because of what they make us feel, not because of the exact details. That's where we can get tripped up. The details aren't the point of the tradition. The feeling is the point of the tradition. It's the feeling that we get, not the routine itself. And that's why change, when it happens, doesn't have to mean loss. It simply means that recognizing the heart of the tradition and finding a new way to express it. When we think about changing traditions, that usually creates a great deal of anxiety within some people because they get caught up in the details. But it's not about the details. It's not about the exact plan. It's about the feeling that comes from the tradition. Many people struggle because they treat tradition like rules. This is how we've always done it, so this is how we must keep doing it. But traditions aren't obligations. They are expressions of love, connection, and meaning. And those things can evolve as we evolve. Here's the truth. Not all traditions grow with us. Some traditions become heavy over time. Some become impractical. Some become stressful. Some become emotionally complicated. Maybe you're the one who hosts all the time, but life is just too busy this year. So hosting's just not on the table. Maybe a tradition reminds you of someone you've lost, and the pain outweighs the comfort. Maybe your family has grown or changed, and tradition doesn't fit anymore. Maybe your kids are older now and want something different. Maybe you're blending families, and the old routines just don't work. And maybe you're just simply exhausted and need a simpler season. There's no shame in recognizing when a tradition no longer supports your well-being. This is part of emotional maturity, understanding that something can be beautiful and something you're ready to release. Something can be beautiful and wonderful and have deep memory, but also something you're ready to release. A lot of people hold on to tradition out of guilt. They think letting go means disrespecting the past or disappointing their family. But honoring your emotional needs doesn't erase your history. It doesn't diminish what the tradition once meant. It simply acknowledges that life has changed. And that's okay. Change doesn't mean abandonment. It means evolution. But the struggle with change doesn't come from evolution. It doesn't come from the change itself. It comes from guilt. Most people struggle, not because they don't know what they want. Most people know what they want, or most people have an idea of what they want. They struggle because they feel guilty for wanting it. Guilt is the biggest obstacle when it comes to adjusting traditions. So let me tell you something really clearly. You are allowed to change traditions. You are allowed to make the holidays fit your life. You do not need anyone else's permission to take care of your emotional well-being. You are allowed to change traditions. This holiday season, give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to fit the holiday season into your life, not your life into the holiday season. Maybe that means simplifying a tradition. Maybe that means, dialing it back a little bit. What used to be grand and huge or really, really invested, maybe it needs simplifying it. Or shortening a tradition, something that used to go on and on. Maybe it needs just a timeline change. Or maybe move a tradition to a different day or a different time frame that will help to fit into your life. Saying no to traditions that drain you. This can be hard because, again, traditions come with that expectation and that rule, and there might be disappointment. But saying no to a tradition that drains you. Start a new tradition that brings you joy. You're allowed to do this. This is all part of your capability and your place in life to make the holiday season fit your life, not your life fit the holiday season. Keep only parts of a tradition you actually love. Maybe you like baking cookies, and that's awesome. I love cookies, I really do. But there are certain cookies that I don't eat. And now, fortunately, in the baking process, those cookies don't get baked. But perhaps maybe in your baking process, there's a cookie that you just don't like. And someone bakes them, or someone expects you to bake them, but you don't like them. Well, you don't have to. Saying no to, saying no to a tradition that drains you. Yeah. Start a new tradition that brings you joy. When we know what it is that we want, When we're doing the work of looking into ourselves and walking through our own lives and walking through our own expectations and evolutions, we learn to find the things that bring us joy. If you're on this journey and you are finding places that bring you joy, and you have things in your life that ultimately aren't bringing you joy, if traditions are not bringing you joy, then start new ones that do bring you joy. Once you find where your joy lies and what brings you joy in life, then start traditions that bring that joy out. Keep only parts of tradition you actually love. You can do that. You can, carve up traditions, honor old traditions in new ways. We can do that too. Not every tradition that's an old tradition has to be honored the same way. You can honor a new tradition. You can honor an old tradition in a new way. You're allowed to do that. And you can create micro traditions if the old ones feel overwhelming. You can soften them, shorten them, make them smaller. Look, here's the thing. In that list, in everything, this is what we want to learn. Tradition is not perfection. It's not about being perfect. It's about meaning. Meaning is what is at the basis of traditions. And many different traditions are there. Meaning can take many forms. Maybe this year you shift from hosting a huge dinner to having a smaller, more intimate gathering. Maybe the family gift exchange becomes simpler. Maybe you change when or how you celebrate. Maybe you introduce something new that reflects who you are now. You get to design a holiday season that reflects your values, your energy, and your reality, not just your history. I think I want to hear that. I want to say that again, because I want you to hear that again. You get to design a holiday season that reflects your values, your energy, and your reality, not just your history. When we create new traditions, think about what you want to feel, not about what you want to do. See, again, when we get back into the base of tradition isn't about following the rules. It's about a feeling. It's about a feeling. It's about how these traditions make us feel. So when we create new traditions, think about what you want to feel, not what you want to do. Ask yourself things like, what do I want this season to mean to me? What has it meant to me? But what do I want it to mean to me? What do I want to feel in it? What do I want to remember years from now about this season of my life, about this season of my family? What do I want to remember years from now? What do I want my kids or my family to feel? What small moments bring me the most joy? These are questions you want to ask yourself. What matters most right now in this stage of my life? That's a huge one. What matters most right now in this stage of my life? When we intentionally ask those questions, when we are intentional about what we want to craft, then we can create traditions that really fit into that. We can create moments that really fit into that. And they don't have to be elaborate. New traditions do not have to be elaborate. They can be simple and heartfelt, like a quiet breakfast on Christmas morning, or a walk to look at the lights. There's so many people that put lights out right now. It's so wonderful. Maybe it's a tradition of a no phones night of games, or watching a movie with no tech. Maybe it's a handwritten note to someone you love. Maybe it's trying a new recipe, or maybe it's practicing gratitude in the midst of the decorations and the lights and the gift opening. Maybe it's a simple act of kindness. Maybe part of the tradition of the holiday season isn't just running around and buying and buying and buying, but going out and doing something for someone else, volunteering time. Maybe it's gathering around, a movie that is something that, that it becomes a tradition in its own, a movie that the family appreciates. Having one stress-free, plan-free holiday day, a day in the holiday season where there's no plans, no traditions. Look, new traditions grow roots quickly when they're meaningful, and they can be powerful sources of joy. They can be powerful sources of joy when we can create new traditions that have meaning, that have purpose, that can have that deep feeling. They can grow roots quickly. Now, here's the caveat. When we create new things, it does cause ripples. I'm going to say this. When we create new things, it does cause ripples, because usually Traditions are not singular. Usually traditions involve other people. And when we change traditions, it can cause ripple effects in other people's lives. People can get upset with us. People can tell us things or try to guilt us or coerce us. It's part of living in a structure. This is usually one of the areas where most people don't break tradition because they don't want, their great aunt or their grandmother to be unhappy or their parents to get on them or their friends. Yes, it will happen. It is part of change. If change were easy, everybody would do it. But this is where we get back to those statements. This is your life. Your holiday season needs to fit in your life. Your life doesn't fit into the holiday season. And once we start making those changes, when people push back, we want to stand firm, gently, kindly, but firmly. This is what we're doing this year. This is who we are this year. We want to be loving. We want to be kind. We want to show grace. We don't need to be mean or hurtful. But we want to acknowledge that there will be pushback when we create change. And that's okay. That's part of the process. And really, if there isn't pushback, then that's a sign to say that there's a whole lot of people who are feeling this particular tradition, whatever it is, needs to go away. And someone has just finally spoken it. Someone has just finally identified it. But most likely, when you change traditions, there will be pushback. And you need to be prepared for that. And you need to be okay with it. Because that's part of the process. That's part of the identity. That's part of the being. There will be pushback, but pushback is okay. Change for your sake, for what is better for you, is what's more important. So being able to acknowledge and accept that some traditions just need to change or go away for your own well-being, and that people are not always going to be happy about it, that's a big thing. But it's important. It's important to do that. It's important to figure out and wade through the balance between tradition and change. It's a delicate one, but it's a deeply personal one. You don't owe the past a reenactment. You don't owe the past anything. You owe the present your authenticity. You owe yourselves permission to grow, to adjust, to create a season that matches who you are today. That's what you owe yourself. You don't owe the past anything. Again, and that's not to say that we're just going to throw it away and disrespect it, but this can be a time of beauty and wonder and joy, but it's also stepping out and claiming what's yours. So here's what I would encourage you to do. Look at your traditions. Look at the traditions that are in your life. Identify one tradition you want to simplify or release or adapt, and one new tradition you want to start this year. Allow those things to happen in your life, because tradition is beautiful when it serves your heart. It becomes a burden when it demands more than you can give. And you deserve a holiday season that supports your emotional well-being, honors your growth, and fills you with moments of genuine connection and joy. And creating traditions that do that is a powerful thing. But if there's things in your life that are not doing that, it's time to examine them. It's time to examine them, adjust them, or release them. Do it with love, do it with gentleness, do it with kindness, but release it nonetheless. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. I really do. Traditions can be a difficult thing, and wading through them, dealing with them, adjusting them, knowing what to honor, what not to honor, that's a task. And I hope that this has given you a little bit of insight into how to do that. If it has, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me on one of the listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. And as always, if you want to reach out to me, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I would truly love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.